So for those of you who are here for the first time, this is the normal structure, okay? By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to identify and select key features of a dynamic chart, use an appropriate structure for your task 1 essay, write a good introduction and overview, and use a range of useful language to describe trends in detail. Okay, so as I was saying, task 1, it's a lot to do with the language, having the right language, okay, because you need the language of trends, which we'll be looking at. And there are 2 types of charts that you might get in task 1, so static and dynamic. What's dynamic? What does that mean? Yeah, it keeps changing. So it's all about change. Yes. Yeah, changes over time. Exactly. That's right. So you need to use language that reflects. All right, so this is the task overview. Okay, so the graph below shows the proportion of 4 different materials that were recycled from 1982 to 2010 in a particular country. Right, so when you get something like this, how do you feel? You can't understand anything, okay. Nervous, yeah, scared, confused, okay, overwhelmed. Right, so a lot of different feelings, right? To be honest, if I was in your position, I would probably feel the same, I have to say, because I was never very good at this kind of thing at school, and I would probably want to cry as well. But you really just need to spend a little bit of time understanding what it's about without rushing into it. So just a few extra minutes spending time on it will really make a difference. And so you won't get all panicky. Okay, so you need to obviously describe the chart, 150 words, and you have 20 minutes to do it. Okay, so 150 words, is that the maximum or the minimum? The minimum, that's right. So people always ask, is it okay to do more than that? And yes, it's okay, but you need to leave enough time for task 2. Okay, so you have to write at least that, but you can go over. You have to summarize the information by selecting the key features. And this is really important. You need to report the data only, no opinion. Okay, if you write exactly 150, that's fine, Razan. There's no maximum, Asia, okay? But as I said, you don't have a lot of time, so you need to make sure that you leave enough time for task 2. And then reporting the data. So you don't say me, okay? In other words, you don't give a reason. You just present what's there. So some of your questions are really great ones, but if you can maybe put them in the Q&A, okay? I'll try and help you at the end. Interpreting data. Okay, what type of chart is this? Yeah, it's a line graph. That's right. So that's what you need to understand first of all. And what is being measured? Yeah, so recycling rate for selected materials, for certain materials. And then what's the time period? Yeah, 1982 to 2010, that's right. Okay, so this is kind of, obviously you're thinking, oh, that's like a really obvious question, but so many people just don't read all the information and they make mistakes with this. So then you need to consider which tenses you should use, which tenses. Yeah, so you're all saying that. So past, Okay, obviously this is in the past, so you can't use present perfect, right? It has to be past. And then what are the key features? So what are the things that you notice about this chart? What are the main things? You don't know, okay. Paper and cardboard. Yeah, so these are general things, but what do you notice in particular? Yeah, so Mohammed is on the right track. So the things that really stand out. Yeah, they're rising over the years. Yeah, recycling percentage. Yeah, so things like this. So Shiva's saying plastic has the lowest recycling rate. So you're really looking the key features, right? The things that, for example, the main trends, patterns, and events. Okay, this is what people find quite difficult. So you need to select 2 or 3 main points and then describe them in 1 to 3 sentences after your introduction. And that's what's called the overview. Okay, so it's really important to include an overview, but you mustn't include detailed data, right? So remember in the overview, it's just 2 or 3 main points. Okay, so Afif, I'm going to come on to that shortly. Right, so it's useful to look at the highest, okay? As you can see, the highest is paper and cardboard, one at the top, and then glass, right? So that would be the first thing you mention. The lowest is plastics. And then the biggest and the smallest changes, right? So all dynamic charts really be looking for these things, okay? So the biggest change is aluminium cans, as you can see, that goes up quite a lot. And the smallest change is plastics, which hardly goes up at all, right? So they're the main things you'll be talking about. Okay, right, so looking at an example structure now. How many paragraphs do you need for this task? Yeah, so most of you are saying 4, that's correct. So, I mean, there's no set number, but I think 4 is a logical number. So I'll try to show you why. So the introduction, we have an overview. What's the third part? Yeah, the body, exactly. So body A, details, and then body B, yeah. So some of you are saying conclusion, okay? You don't need a conclusion, task 1. For task 2, you do, right? So that's one of the differences. But instead of a conclusion, you've got an overview, all right? Yeah, the overview should have a separate paragraph. Okay, the difference between the introduction and the overview. So you're going to see it in a minute, Asia. Okay. So with the overview, does it have to come second? Does it have to come second? No. Okay, that's right. So where can it go? It can be last, that's right. So you could have introduction, body A, body B, then the overview, or the overview second, right? So one of those 2 positions. You can combine paragraphs, but I think this makes it really clear. Okay, I mean, it does look like a conclusion, that's right, it does, but it's slightly different to a conclusion. Okay, so I'm going to have a look at it now. Right, so the introduction, just basically stating what the charts show by paraphrasing the title. So hopefully you should realize by now that with all the introductions for IELTS, this is what you do. Okay, you paraphrase the title and really short, just 1 or 2 sentences. And then in the overview, what do you do there? Yeah, so Valentina, yes, it does need its own paragraph, but it does come after the introduction, as you can see. But remember, it's all about clarity. You need to make it really clear. If you have separate paragraphs, it's very clear what you're doing in each one. Yeah, so key points, that's right. Okay, so you outline 3 to 4 main points, trends and events. It's slightly longer than the introduction, okay, 2 to 4 sentences. What about body A? Yeah, so Shirin, that's a good question. So it can, 1 to 2 sentences can be a paragraph. Obviously, it's a short paragraph. But remember, this isn't very long anyway. It's 150 words. Yeah, yeah. Trends. So okay, I'll ask you this question. What are trends? What's that? What are trends? Yeah, sort of main features, really, main features and changes. So it's things really, I mean, it's like main points. It's things that really stand out. So changes in the chart, okay? Right, so BA, you describe details. So you have to give specific data and examples in 3 to 5 sentences. Okay, and then body B obviously is the same, but different details. Right, so that is the structure. I think when you look at that, it looks quite easy. Right, so let's start with the introduction. Okay, so here's the title again. Okay, so you need to paraphrase this. So put it into your own words. Yeah, so Harvey, we're going to look at that in a minute. When we come to that, you can see, okay? Right, so you paraphrase the title. You use synonyms and grammar transformation to do that. And need to make sure that you're accurate and precise, okay? So you're not adding any information. You're keeping the same information, but you're expressing it in a different way. And also don't write a list of more than 5 items, okay? So if you're going to mention these things, don't use more than 5. Right, so just the words that I'm going to use to paraphrase now. Okay, so these words here. Right, so first of all, I think most of you said this. The graph below shows, illustrates, that's right. So this is always a synonym for shows. And now you need to somehow combine these 2 words. What could you say? Proportion and recycled. Yeah, so some of you sort of getting it, yeah? Okay, recycling rates. Okay, so instead of proportion, you can say rates. Okay, now this one, 4 different materials. How could you change that? Okay, various makes sense, yeah, various, but you wouldn't say 4 various items. 4 selected materials, that's nice, yeah, that would work. Or specific materials, that would be okay as well. I'll show you what we put. 4 types of material. Okay, but something similar to that. And then this is what I meant by don't write a list of more than 5 items. Okay, so that is just enough. You can put them in brackets. In a particular, you don't have to. You don't have to detail it, but it's helpful to do that, but just don't put more than 5, okay? In one, instead of a particular country, in one country. Okay, and then the years, so from 1982 to 2010, so that's the same thing, okay, between 1982, and make sure that you use the right words. Okay, sometimes I see between with 2, and you just need to make sure you've got the right one there. Yeah, between and. Okay, so as you can see, that means exactly the same as that, but it's a paraphrase, so it's significantly different. Okay, so that's your introduction. Right, so useful language now. There are 5 types of change in a dynamic graph. So can we use passive verbs? No, you can't use a passive verb there, Shirin. It depends on the context, but that wouldn't really make sense there. Okay, I'll just show you some different types of graph here. Right, as you can see, all these changes are quite different. So we're going to look at some language. Okay, so just tell me which one that should go in. 1, yeah. Remain constant. 3, that's right. Fluctuate. 4, yeah. Reach a peak. 5, yeah. Okay, that one's gone in there for some reason. Remain steady. Fall. Yeah, 2, yeah. Grow. 1. Rise and fall. 4, yeah. Decline. 2, yeah. Vary. 4, yeah. Fall to a minimum. Yeah, most of you getting that. 5. In there, yeah. Climb. 1. Stay stable. 3, that's right. Drop. 2, and the last one, reach a maximum. Okay, so probably I would imagine you know most of those words already, but there might be some new phrases. So this would be quite useful just to learn some, so you've got a variety of language that you can use here. So this is what I was saying about learning the language for task 1. You need to show variety of language, you need particular verbs. All right, let's just look at a graph here. So the number of cars, what could you say? Yeah, increased, yeah. So past tense, remember? There was an increase, yes. The number of cars experienced an increase, yes, it's quite easy, but just different ways of saying it. As you can see, you've got the verb there, noun there, a noun there. Okay, so try to vary your language, use verbs and nouns if you can. The number of cars experienced, so what kind of increase? So you need an adjective. Steady. Yeah, that's right, steady, or you could probably say a gradual increase. Yeah, so it's not, it doesn't go up too quickly. That's what that means. Make sure you right collocation. Okay, so normally you'd say a steady increase, a gradual increase. Those two you hear quite often. Okay, the next one. Right, the number of cars, what? Fluctuated, yes. Then, yeah, it could be dropped. Yeah, you wouldn't, oscillate is a great verb, but you wouldn't really use it in this context. Then fell, okay? Fluctuated, then fell, or dropped is okay, or decreased. Yeah, all those words are fine. The number of cars fluctuated, then fell. What kind of fall was it? Yeah, that one, I think, Noreen, you're looking for plummeted, which is a good word. Then fell. I think someone said it actually, but it's gone. Sharply. I would use sharply or dramatically. Okay, they're quite similar. Gradually, it's not really gradually. Gradually is more of a slow kind of fall. And drastically, you wouldn't really use to talk about kind of graphs. But dramatically or sharply, fine. Okay, after putting the number of cars experienced a fall. So you could also say that. Okay, that's a different way of expressing it. After fluctuating the number of cars experienced what kind of fall? A sharp fall, yeah. So sometimes, in fact, quite often, I just see students making a mistake with the word form. Okay, so make sure that if you're using a noun, it combines with an adjective, right? Not an adverb. Okay, if you're using a verb, it combines with an adverb. Okay, for some reason, these mistakes are really common, so just make sure that you're not making them.